Taemin's breath trembled against Catherine's neck as he pulled back slightly, his dark eyes searching hers with something she'd never seen before. Vulnerability mixed with complete shock. Her cheeks were flushed, her curls spread across his silk pillows like a halo, her chest rising and falling rapidly as she tried to catch her breath. His hand cupped her face with a tenderness that contradicted everything she knew about him. His thumb traced her swollen bottom lip as his voice broke into a raw, shaking whisper. "I never knew you were like this." 3 weeks earlier. Catherine's hands wouldn't stop shaking as she adjusted her black uniform in the staff bathroom mirror. Her manager had just pulled her aside with news that made her stomach drop. She was being moved to VIP service tonight. The exclusive lounges on the 3rd floor where Seoul's most powerful and dangerous men gathered. The place every waitress feared. She was 22, a virgin who'd moved to Seoul 6 months ago, chasing photography dreams that now felt impossibly far away. Reality had hit her hard. Rent in Seoul was crushing. Her camera equipment costs ate through her savings. So here she was, working double shifts at Club Eclipse, surrounded by wealth and danger, while living in a tiny apartment with a leaking ceiling. She had no friends here, no family to call when she felt lonely, just her camera and dreams that felt smaller every day. "Catherine," her manager's voice snapped her back to reality. "VIP Lounge 3. These are very important clients. Don't speak unless spoken to. Don't look directly at anyone. Don't ask questions. And whatever you do, don't mess this up." The fear in his eyes made her pulse race. She'd never seen him look scared before. She picked up the champagne tray, the expensive bottles clinking softly as her hands trembled. Walking through the club's main floor felt like walking toward her execution. The pounding bass, the flashing neon lights, the crowd of beautiful people. It all blurred together as anxiety squeezed her chest. She reached the velvet curtains that separated the VIP section from everyone else and pushed through. The hallway beyond was different. Quiet, carpeted in deep burgundy, lit with soft amber lights that felt more like a warning than welcome. Her heels sank into the plush carpet with each step. At the end of the hall stood a black door with gold number 3. She could hear low male voices inside discussing something in Korean. Her hand shook as she knocked. "Enter." The single word from inside was spoken in English with a slight accent. Cold, commanding, absolutely terrifying. Catherine pushed open the door and stepped into a world she didn't belong in. The lounge was all dark leather, glass tables, and ambient lighting that cast shadows across 6 men in expensive suits. But her eyes were drawn like magnets to the man sitting in the center position, the power seat. He was younger than the others, maybe 28, with jet black hair styled perfectly away from his face. His features were sharp and beautiful in a dangerous way. High cheekbones, a strong jaw, lips that looked like they'd forgotten how to smile. But his eyes, God, his eyes were what made her breath catch. Dark, cold, utterly empty, like staring into a beautiful void. Catherine forced her feet to move forward even though every instinct screamed at her to run. She approached the table where the men sat discussing business in low, dangerous tones. Something about shipments and territories that made her skin prickle with warning. Her hands shook so badly the champagne bottles clinked together, the sound too loud in the tense atmosphere. The man in the center, the one with the dead eyes, didn't look up at her. He continued speaking in fluid Korean to the man beside him, his voice smooth as silk and twice as dangerous. But somehow Catherine felt his awareness of her like a physical touch. Like he knew exactly where she stood, how fast her heart was beating, how terrified she was. She carefully began setting down the crystal glasses, pouring champagne with trembling hands. The golden liquid caught the light, and she focused on it desperately, trying not to think about how close she was to these men, how vulnerable she felt, how small and insignificant. "You're new." His voice cut through the room in perfect English, and every conversation stopped. The silence that followed was suffocating. Catherine froze mid-pour, the champagne bottle hovering over a glass. Slowly, so slowly, she raised her eyes to meet his. Up close he was even more devastating. Beautiful in a way that felt wrong, like God had created something perfect and then removed its soul. His dark eyes studied her with an intensity that made her feel naked despite being fully clothed. She could see her own reflection in those black depths, small and scared and so obviously out of place. "Why yes, sir," she managed to whisper, her voice barely audible. "This is my first time serving the VIP section." Her American accent felt too loud, too obvious. She wanted to disappear into the expensive carpet beneath her feet. He tilted his head slightly, and that small movement felt predatory. Calculating. "What's your name?" His English was flawless, with just enough accent to make it devastating. Catherine's throat was so dry she could barely speak. "Catherine, sir." One of the other men, older with a scar across his cheek, chuckled darkly. "An American girl working in a Korean club? What are you running from, sweetheart? Bad boyfriend? Debt? Or just stupid enough to think Seoul is an adventure?" The other men laughed, and Catherine felt her cheeks burn with humiliation. But before she could respond, the man in the center raised one hand. Just that. One simple gesture. The room fell into instant, complete silence. The laughter died. Even the air seemed to stop moving. "Out," he said quietly. Not loud, not angry, just absolute. The 5 other men stood immediately, not even glancing at Catherine as they filed out like soldiers dismissed by their general. The door closed with a soft click that sounded like a death sentence. Catherine's heart hammered so hard she thought she might pass out. She was alone. Alone in a locked room with a man whose name she didn't know but whose danger she could feel in her bones. Should I leave too?" she asked, her voice shaking. "No." He stood slowly, unfolding his tall frame with predatory grace. 6 feet of controlled power and barely contained violence. "You stay." He moved toward her with deliberate steps, hands in his pockets, dark eyes never leaving her face. Catherine's pulse thundered in her ears. He stopped so close she could smell his cologne. Something expensive and dark that made her dizzy. Something that probably cost more than everything she owned. "Why are you scared of me?" he asked softly, his voice like velvet wrapped around a blade. Catherine's hands clenched the empty champagne tray. "I'm not," she started to lie. His lips curved into the smallest smile. Not warm, not kind, but not entirely cruel either. "Don't lie. I can see your pulse racing in your neck. Your hands are shaking. Your breathing is too fast. So tell me the truth, Catherine. Why are you scared?" Before she could answer, the worst possible thing happened. Her camera bag, the old canvas one she carried everywhere under her work apron, slipped from her shoulder. The fraying strap she'd been meaning to replace finally gave way. The bag hit the floor with a horrible thud, and her camera, her precious, beloved camera that represented every dream she had, rolled out onto the carpet. "No, no, no!" Catherine dropped to her knees, grabbing the camera with shaking hands. Her eyes filled with tears, she desperately tried to blink back. "Please be okay. Please be okay," she whispered, checking it frantically. That camera was everything. Her future, her dreams, the only thing that made her feel alive in this lonely city. He crouched beside her, so close their shoulders almost touched. Before Catherine could stop him, he picked up the camera, his long fingers surprisingly gentle. "You're a photographer," he stated, turning it over in his hands. Catherine nodded, reaching for it desperately. "Please, I need that back. It's all I have." But he didn't return it. Instead, he turned it on. Catherine's heart stopped. "No. Oh God, no." His expression changed instantly. His jaw tightened. His eyes went from cold to absolutely glacial, and his entire body tensed with deadly focus. He stood, scrolling through her photos, and Catherine scrambled to her feet, panic flooding her veins. "I can explain," she started desperately. He turned the camera screen toward her, his voice quiet and more terrifying because of it. "Explain this." On the screen was a photo she'd taken last week outside the club. A blurry artistic shot of men in suits exchanging briefcases in the alley. She'd thought it looked mysterious and cinematic. She'd had no idea. Catherine's blood turned to ice. "I didn't know," she said quickly, words tumbling over each other. I was just taking pictures of the city at night for my portfolio. I thought the composition was interesting. I didn't see who they were or what they were doing specifically. I swear I didn't mean to. You photographed a weapons deal, he interrupted, his voice calm in a way that made her want to cry. Do you understand what happens to people who see things they shouldn't? What we do to problems that need to disappear. Catherine's whole body shook. This was it. This was how she died. Alone in a foreign country, killed over a stupid photograph she didn't even understand. Please, she whispered, tears finally spilling down her cheeks. I'll delete everything. I'll give you the camera. I'll quit my job and leave Seoul tonight. I'll never tell anyone anything. Please, I'm nobody. I'm just a stupid girl with a camera who made a terrible mistake. He stared at her for what felt like an eternity. Then something shifted in his expression. Something she couldn't read. You're innocent, he said quietly, almost to himself. Actually, genuinely innocent. I haven't seen that in. He trailed off, then seemed to make a decision. He called out something in Korean, and one of his men appeared instantly. He handed over her camera with instructions in rapid Korean. He turned back to Catherine, his dark eyes studying her tear-stained face. What do you photograph? When you're not accidentally capturing evidence of illegal activities. The question was so unexpected Catherine almost laughed hysterically. I try to capture beauty in unexpected places. Moments that tell stories. The way light falls on old buildings. The contrast between poverty and wealth in the city. Human emotion in candid moments. I'm trying to build a portfolio too. She stopped. Why was she telling him this? Beauty in unexpected places. He repeated slowly, like he was tasting the words. He stepped closer, and Catherine's breath caught. When you look at me, Catherine, what do you see? The question was bizarre, dangerous, but something in his eyes made her answer honestly. I see someone carrying something too heavy, she whispered. Someone who looks tired underneath the cold. Someone who forgot what it feels like to be soft. For one moment, just one, his mask cracked. Something human and broken flashed across his beautiful face before he locked it away again. My name is Taemin, he said quietly, and I have a proposal for you. Catherine wiped her tears with shaking hands, trying to compose herself. What kind of proposal? Taemin studied her face like she was a puzzle he couldn't solve. You want your camera back intact? You want to walk out of here safely and continue your life? She nodded frantically. Then photograph me. One session. Capture what you see when you look at me. All that beauty in unexpected places you talk about. Do that and you're free. It sounded too simple. Too easy. Catherine's mind raced with suspicion. That's it? Just take your picture. Taemin's lips curved slightly. Just take my picture. One session. Then you get your camera back and we never speak again. You have my word. His word. The word of a man who dealt in weapons and danger. But what choice did she have? Okay, Catherine whispered. One session. Something flickered in Taemin's eyes. Satisfaction maybe, or something darker. Good. I'll send a car for you tomorrow. 7 p.m. Be ready. He turned to leave, then paused. And Catherine? Don't tell anyone about this. Not your manager. Not your friends. No one. This stays between us. Understand? The next evening, Catherine stood outside her apartment building, anxiety eating her alive. What was she doing? Getting into a car sent by a dangerous man to go God knows where? But at 7 p.m. exactly, a sleek black car pulled up. The driver opened the door without speaking, and Catherine got in because she had no other choice. They drove for 30 minutes through Seoul's glittering streets, moving from her poor neighborhood to areas where buildings touched the sky and wealth dripped from every surface. They stopped at a private estate that looked like something from a magazine. The driver led her through a marble foyer that echoed with her footsteps, up an elevator that opened directly into a penthouse that took her breath away. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed the entire city spread below like a carpet of stars. Everything was sleek, modern, expensive, black and white and chrome and glass. You came. Taemin's voice made her jump. He stood by the windows wearing a simple black shirt and dark pants that somehow looked more expensive than most people's entire wardrobes. His hair was slightly mussed, like he'd been running his hands through it. He looked different outside the club. Less terrifying, more breathtakingly handsome in a way that made her stomach flip. "You have my camera," Catherine said, trying to sound brave. Taemin almost smiled. "Direct. I like that." He handed her a professional camera. "Top of the line, worth thousands of dollars. Use this for tonight. Yours is being examined to ensure there are no copies of those photos anywhere." He gestured toward the window. "The light is best on the rooftop terrace. Shall we?" The rooftop was stunning. A private garden in the sky with Seoul spreading endlessly below. The sunset painted everything gold and pink. Catherine raised the camera with shaking hands, looking through the viewfinder at Taemin standing against the railing. Through the lens, she saw him differently. The sharp lines of his face softened by golden light, the tiredness in his eyes he tried to hide, the way he held himself like he was ready for attack even in this private space. "Why did you agree to this?" Catherine asked softly, lowering the camera. "You could have just dealt with me. Why this elaborate photography session?" Taemin was quiet for a long moment. "Because you looked at me like I was human," he finally said. "Not a weapon, not a monster, not a business opportunity, just a person. And I wanted to understand what you see that no one else does." 3 days later, Catherine's phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "Meet me at Gangnam Luxury Plaza. 2 p.m. Wear something comfortable." Catherine stared at the message in confusion. The photography session was done. What more could he want? But curiosity, and maybe something else she didn't want to name, made her go. She wore her best casual outfit. A simple sundress from a budget store that looked painfully cheap next to the designer storefronts surrounding the plaza. She felt like a sparrow among peacocks. Then she saw him. Taemin stood near the entrance in a casual black shirt and jeans that probably cost more than her rent, and somehow he made casual look like a magazine cover. "You came," he said when he spotted her. And there was that hint of surprise again, like he expected her to run, like he wasn't used to people choosing to be near him. Catherine crossed her arms. "Your message sounded more like a command than an invitation." His lips twitched. "Did it work?" She couldn't help it. She smiled. "Unfortunately, yes." Something shifted in his expression when she smiled. His eyes softened just slightly, like he'd never seen anything quite like it before. "Come," he said, his hand settling on the small of her back, sending electricity through her body. "We're going shopping." Catherine stopped walking. I know what you're going to say, that you don't need charity, that you can take care of yourself. But humor me, Catherine. Let me do this." The way he said her name made her stomach flutter. Before she could argue, he guided her into the most expensive boutique she'd ever seen. The sales associate's eyes widened when they saw Taemin. "Mr. Kim," the manager said, bowing deeply. "How may we serve you today?" Taemin gestured to Catherine. "She needs everything. Dresses for every occasion. Casual clothes, evening wear, shoes, accessories, whatever she needs." Catherine's eyes went wide. "Taemin, I can't." He turned to her, his hand cupping her chin gently, forcing her to look at him. His touch was surprisingly tender. "Can't? Or won't let yourself have nice things?" His thumb brushed across her cheek. "I want to see you in something other than fear and worry. So please, just let me." Something in his voice, a vulnerability she didn't expect, made her resistance crumble. 2 hours later, Catherine had tried on more clothes than she'd owned in her entire life. And through it all, Taemin sat in a leather chair watching her with an intensity that made her skin burn. Every time she emerged from the dressing room, his eyes would darken, traveling over her in a way that made her hyper-aware of every inch of her body. "That one," he said when she came out in a soft blue dress that hugged her curves. His voice was rougher than usual. "Definitely that one." Catherine looked at herself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. She looked confident, beautiful, like someone who belonged in his world. "Why are you really doing this?" she asked quietly. Taemin stood, walking toward her slowly. He stopped behind her, his hands resting lightly on her shoulders as they both looked at her reflection. "Because I want to see you smile without fear in your eyes," he said simply. "Because every time I close my eyes, I see your face from that first night, terrified and crying, and I hate that I made you feel that way." Catherine turned to face him, surprised by his honesty. "You're not what I expected," she admitted. Taemin's jaw tightened. "What did you expect? A monster?" She shook her head slowly. "I expected someone who wouldn't care. But you do care. I can see it even when you try to hide it." Something vulnerable flashed across his face before he masked it. "Come on," he said, his voice rougher. "We're not done yet." After shopping, Taemin took Catherine to an exclusive beauty salon in Gangnam, the kind of place where appointments were booked months in advance and celebrities hid behind dark glasses. But when Taemin walked in with Catherine, the entire staff moved like he owned the place. Maybe he did. "Mr. Kim," the salon owner greeted him with a deep bow. "We're honored by your presence." Taemin's hand remained on Catherine's back, protective and possessive. "She needs the full treatment. Hair, makeup, nails, everything. Make her feel like a queen." The woman's eyes lit up as she studied Catherine. "Of course. She's already beautiful. We'll just enhance what's there." Catherine was led to a private room where 3 stylists descended on her like artists approaching a blank canvas. They washed her hair with products that smelled like heaven, conditioned it until it felt like silk, then began cutting and styling while discussing the best way to frame her face. Catherine watched in the mirror as her wild curls were tamed into soft, romantic waves that cascaded down her shoulders. Then came the makeup artist, who studied Catherine's face like it was a masterpiece. "You have incredible bone structure," she murmured, applying foundation that made Catherine's dark skin glow. "And these eyes, they're captivating." Catherine had never thought of herself as beautiful. She was just normal, average, invisible. But as the artist worked, applying subtle colors that enhanced rather than masked, she started to see what Taemin might see. 2 hours later, Catherine stared at her reflection and didn't recognize herself. Her curls fell in perfect waves. Her skin glowed. Her eyes looked bigger, more dramatic. Her lips were full and soft. She looked like someone from a magazine. Someone confident and powerful and beautiful. "What do you think?" the stylist asked nervously. Look." Catherine couldn't find words. She looked like the woman she'd always dreamed of being. Strong, beautiful, worthy. The salon owner smiled. "Mr. Kim is waiting for you outside. I think he'll be very pleased." Catherine's heart raced as she walked toward the salon's main area where Taemin stood looking at his phone. He glanced up casually, then froze. His phone slipped slightly in his hand. His eyes widened just a fraction. His jaw tensed. He stared at Catherine like he was seeing her for the first time, and the intensity in his gaze made her breath catch. Slowly, he walked toward her, his eyes never leaving her face. "Catherine," he said, his voice rougher than she'd ever heard it. "You're stunning." She felt her cheeks heat. "It's just makeup and—" "No," he interrupted, stopping close enough that she could feel his warmth. "It's not the makeup. It's you. This is who you were all along. The hair and makeup just made everyone else see what I already knew." His hand reached up, fingers gently touching one of her curls. "You're absolutely breathtaking." Catherine's pulse thundered. No one had ever looked at her like this. Like she was precious and powerful and completely mesmerizing. "Thank you," she whispered, "for all of this. For making me feel." She couldn't finish. Taemin's thumb brushed across her cheek. "How do you feel?" She met his eyes honestly. "Beautiful. For the first time in my life." Something intense flashed in Taemin's eyes. "Good," he said softly. "Because you are. And I want you to remember this feeling. I want you to see yourself the way I see you." Before Catherine could respond, he glanced at his watch. "Come, I'm taking you to dinner. Somewhere worthy of how you look right now." Taemin took Catherine to an exclusive rooftop restaurant with panoramic views of Seoul's glittering skyline. The maitre d' bowed deeply when he saw them, immediately leading them to the best table. A private corner with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view that took Catherine's breath away. The city sprawled below them like a sea of stars. "This is incredible," Catherine breathed, unable to look away from the view. When she finally turned back, she found Taemin watching her instead of the scenery. "You're not even looking at the view," she said softly. His lips curved slightly. "I'm looking at a much better one." The way he said it made her stomach flip. Wine was poured, menus presented, but Catherine barely noticed. She was too aware of Taemin sitting across from her, his dark eyes studying her face like he was memorizing every detail. "You're staring," she said, trying to sound playful but feeling nervous. Taemin didn't look away. "I know. I can't seem to stop." The food arrived, small, artfully arranged plates that looked too beautiful to eat. But as they ate, something shifted. The tension eased. Conversation flowed more naturally. "Tell me about your photography dreams," Taemin said, his voice genuinely curious. "The real dreams, not the practical ones you tell yourself to feel better." Catherine hesitated, then decided to be honest. "I want to open a gallery. I want to show the world that beauty exists everywhere. In poverty, in darkness, in unexpected places. I want to tell stories through images that make people feel something real. I want to matter, to create something that outlasts me." She laughed bitterly. "Stupid, right? A broke waitress with impossible dreams." "Not stupid," Taemin said firmly. His hand reached across the table, covering hers. "Beautiful. Those dreams are beautiful, Catherine. And they're not impossible." The warmth of his hand sent electricity through her. "What about you?" she asked. "What did you dream about before this life?" She gestured vaguely, meaning his dangerous world. Taemin's expression darkened. "I never had dreams. I had expectations. My father groomed me for this life from the moment I could walk. There was never a choice, never a possibility of anything else." His jaw clenched. "By the time I was old enough to understand I wanted something different, it was too late. I'd already become the monster everyone needed me to be." "You're not a monster," Catherine said softly. Taemin's eyes snapped to hers. "You don't know what I've done. The things I'm capable of. I know you bought a scared waitress expensive clothes and made her feel beautiful," Catherine interrupted. "I know you're sitting here having dinner with me instead of whatever dangerous things you could be doing. I know you look at me like I matter. Monsters don't do that." Something cracked in Taemin's expression. "You're too innocent for this world," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "Too pure, too good. And I'm terrified of what being near me will do to you." Catherine turned her hand over, lacing her fingers through his. "Then don't push me away. Let me decide what risks I'm willing to take." The moment stretched between them, heavy with possibility. Then Taemin's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his expression shifted, cold mask slamming back into place. "I need to take this." He stood, walking away to answer, and Catherine watched him transform from the vulnerable man at dinner back into the dangerous mafia boss who controlled empires. When he returned, his jaw was tight. "I need to get you home. Something's come up." Catherine nodded, trying to ignore the disappointment flooding through her. As they left, Taemin's hand found the small of her back again, protective and possessive. "Catherine," he said quietly, "thank you for tonight, for seeing me as more than what I am." Catherine returned to work at Club Eclipse the next evening, still floating from dinner with Taemin. She'd replayed every moment 100 times. His words, his touches, the way he'd looked at her. But when she arrived for her shift, her manager pulled her aside with an odd expression. "You've been requested. VIP Lounge 5. By Mr. Kim?" Catherine asked, hope blooming in her chest. Her manager shook his head. "By someone else. A Mr. Choi Miho." Catherine's stomach sank slightly, but she picked up her tray and headed upstairs. When she entered Lounge 5, a man stood by the window, younger than Taemin, maybe mid-20s, with softer features and kind eyes. "You must be Catherine," he said with a warm smile that reached his eyes. "I'm Miho. I'm Taemin's cousin." Catherine relaxed slightly. "Family. That made sense." "He sent you?" Miho shook his head, gesturing for her to sit. "No. He doesn't know I'm here. I came because I need to warn you about my cousin." Catherine sat slowly, her guard rising. "Warn me?" Miho's expression grew serious. "I've known Taemin my whole life. I've watched him become what he is: cold, dangerous, obsessive. And I've seen what happens when he becomes interested in someone. It never ends well." His eyes held genuine concern. "He doesn't know how to care about someone without consuming them completely." "I don't understand," Catherine said quietly. Miho leaned forward. "Taemin doesn't do relationships. He doesn't do normal. When he wants something, he takes it. When he cares about someone, he suffocates them with his obsession. He'll build a cage around you made of luxury and protection, but it'll still be a cage. And you're too innocent, too pure. He'll destroy you without meaning to." Catherine's hands trembled. "Why are you telling me this?" Miho's voice was gentle. "Because I can see it already. The way he looks at you is different from anything I've seen before. He's falling for you, Catherine. And when Taemin falls, he falls completely. Dangerously. I've watched it happen before. And I don't want to watch another innocent person get destroyed by his darkness." Before Catherine could respond, the door burst open with enough force to slam it against the wall. Taemin stood in the doorway, his entire body radiating deadly fury. His eyes locked onto Miho, then Catherine, then back to Miho. The temperature in the room plummeted. "Cousin," he said, his voice quiet and more terrifying because of it. "What are you doing here?" Miho stood slowly, raising his hands. "I was just talking to Catherine." "Talking," Taemin repeated flatly. He walked into the room with predatory grace. Each step controlled violence. "About what, exactly?" His eyes flicked to Catherine. "What lies has he been filling your head with?" Catherine's heart raced. "He's just concerned. He's interfering." Taemin cut her off. His jaw clenched so tight she could see the muscle jumping. Miho stepped between them. "She deserves to know what she's getting into with you, Taemin. She deserves to know how obsessive you become. How possessive. How you'll isolate her from everything and everyone until you're all she has." Taemin's eyes went dead cold. "Get out." The words were barely above a whisper but carried absolute menace. "Not until she understands," Miho started. Taemin moved faster than Catherine could track, grabbing Miho by the collar and slamming him against the wall. "I said get out," he growled. "Before I forget, we share blood." The violence in his voice made Catherine gasp. Miho met his eyes steadily. "This is exactly what I'm talking about. Look at yourself, cousin. Look at how you're reacting." Taemin released him with visible effort, his hands shaking slightly. "Leave, now, and don't come near her again." Miho straightened his collar, glancing at Catherine one last time with pity in his eyes before walking out. The door closed, leaving Catherine alone with Taemin, who stood with his back to her, shoulders tense, breathing hard. "Taemin," Catherine started softly. He spun around, and the raw emotion in his face stole her breath. "He's right," Taemin said, his voice rough. "Everything he said is true. I am obsessive. I am possessive. I don't know how to care about someone without wanting to own them completely. And you should run from me before it's too late." Catherine stood slowly, her heart aching at the pain in Taemin's eyes. "What if I don't want to run?" she asked softly. Taemin's jaw clenched. "Then you're more foolish than I thought." He turned away, hands clenched into fists. "Do you know what I wanted to do when I saw Miho sitting close to you? When I saw him looking at you with those concerned eyes?" "What?" Catherine whispered. Taemin's voice was raw. "I wanted to kill him, my own cousin, my own blood, because the thought of anyone else being close to you, talking to you, making you doubt me, it made me want to burn everything down." He laughed bitterly. "That's not normal, Catherine. That's not healthy. That's dangerous." Catherine walked toward him slowly. And what did you actually do? Taemin turned, confusion flickering across his face. What? She stopped close enough to feel his heat. What did you actually do? Did you hurt him? Did you lose control? Taemin shook his head. No, but I wanted to. But you didn't, Catherine interrupted. You felt the violence, but you controlled it. That's the difference. You don't understand, Taemin said desperately. I've spent my whole life becoming this. Cold, controlled, emotionless. And then you walked into my world with your cameras and your dreams and your innocent eyes. And suddenly I feel everything. Rage, jealousy, fear, desire. Things I haven't felt in years. You're unraveling me, Catherine. And I don't know if I want you to stop. Catherine reached up, her hand cupping his face. He flinched like her touch burned. I'm scared too, she admitted. I'm scared of how much I think about you, how much I want to be near you, how much I care about what happens to you. But I'm not running. Not yet. So stop trying to push me away. Something broke in Taemin's expression. You should be terrified of me. His hand covered hers on his face. I've killed people, Catherine. I've destroyed lives. I've done things that would make you sick if you knew. And yet, when you look at me, you see someone worth saving. How is that possible? Because people aren't just one thing, Catherine whispered. You're not just a killer. You're not just dangerous. You're also the man who bought me clothes to make me feel beautiful, who took me to dinner and listened to my dreams, who looks at me like I'm precious. You're both things. And maybe you've been the monster for so long you forgot you could be something else too. Taemin's forehead pressed against hers, his breathing ragged. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to care about someone without destroying them. His hands cupped her face desperately. But God help me, I can't stop. Every time I close my eyes, I see your face. Every time I breathe, I think about you. You've become the only thing that matters, and that terrifies me. Then we'll figure it out together, Catherine said softly. Taemin's eyes searched hers desperately. Together? He repeated, like the word was foreign. I've never had a together before. I don't know how. Catherine interrupted him the only way she knew how. She kissed him. Soft, hesitant, innocent. Just a brush of lips that lasted maybe 3 seconds before she pulled back, her cheeks burning. Taemin stood frozen, his eyes wide with shock. Then something shifted in his expression. Something hungry and desperate and completely overwhelming. Catherine, he breathed her name like a prayer. His hand slid to the back of her neck, pulling her closer. If I kiss you properly, I won't be able to stop. Do you understand? Once I start, I won't be able to let you go. Then don't let me go, Catherine whispered, and Taemin's control shattered. He kissed her like a man drowning, like she was air and he'd been suffocating. His lips claimed hers with a desperate intensity that made her knees weak. His other arm wrapped around her waist, pulling her against him until there was no space between them, and Catherine melted into him, kissing him back with all the confused emotions she'd been fighting. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Taemin pressed his forehead against hers. You're mine now, he whispered roughly. Do you understand? Mine. I won't share you. I won't let you go. I'll be possessive and jealous and probably drive you crazy. But you're mine. Catherine's heart raced. Okay, she whispered. I'm yours. That night, Taemin insisted on driving Catherine home himself. His hand rested possessively on her thigh during the drive, and every time she glanced at him, his eyes were on her. Stay with me tonight, he said when they pulled up to her apartment. Catherine's pulse raced. Taemin, just to sleep, he clarified, his voice rough. I need you near me tonight. I need to know you're safe. Catherine nodded, and they drove to his penthouse instead. She'd barely walked through the door when Taemin's phone rang. His expression darkened as he answered. What? He listened, and Catherine watched his entire demeanor change. From the vulnerable man who'd kissed her to the dangerous mafia boss. How many? Another pause. I'm on my way. He hung up and turned to Catherine, something desperate in his eyes. I need to handle something. Stay here. Don't leave this penthouse for any reason. My security will be outside. Catherine's stomach twisted. What's wrong? Taemin's jaw clenched. Kong, a rival, knows about you. He knows you matter to me. And he's making moves too. He stopped himself. Just promise me you'll stay here where you're safe. Before Catherine could respond, his phone rang again. He answered and his face went white. When? His eyes snapped to Catherine with pure terror. How did they? He hung up and grabbed Catherine's arm. We need to go. Now. The urgency in his voice scared her. What's happening? But Taemin was already pulling her toward the door. They burst into the hallway, and Catherine's heart stopped. 5 men stood between them and the elevator, all armed. Mr. Kim, one said with a cold smile. Mr. Kong would like to meet your friend. Taemin moved faster than Catherine could track, pushing her behind him, his entire body a shield. You touch her, and I'll kill every single one of you. The man laughed. You're outnumbered. Give us the girl, and maybe we'll let you live. Taemin's voice dropped to something absolutely lethal. I'd rather die. What happened next was a blur. Taemin fought like a demon, taking down 2 men before the others could react. Catherine screamed as one grabbed her, but Taemin spun, his elbow connecting with the man's face. But there were too many. One got behind Taemin, a gun pressed to his head. Stop, or I pull the trigger. Taemin froze, his eyes meeting Catherine's. In them, she saw something she'd never seen before. Pure, undiluted fear. Not for himself. For her. Let her go, Taemin said, his voice deadly calm. This is between Kong and me. She's innocent. She stopped being innocent the moment you cared about her, the man said. He gestured to his partners. Take them both. They were forced into a van. Taemin's hand found Catherine's in the darkness, squeezing so tight it almost hurt. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm so sorry I brought you into this. Catherine squeezed back. I chose this. I chose you. They were taken to a warehouse on the outskirts of Seoul. A man stood waiting, older, cruel-faced, with eyes like a snake. Kong. So this is the girl who made the great Taemin Kim weak, he said, circling Catherine like a predator. She's prettier than I expected. I can see why you lost your mind. Taemin strained against the men holding him. Touch her, and You'll what? Kong laughed. You're in no position to threaten anyone. He grabbed Catherine's chin, forcing her to look at him. She could see Taemin losing his mind, violence radiating from every line of his body. I could kill her right now, watch you break. But that would be too easy. His smile was cruel. No, I think I'll keep her. Use her. Make you watch. The sound of gunshots exploded through the warehouse. The men holding Taemin dropped. Miho burst through the door with 20 armed men, all loyal to Taemin. Sorry I'm late, cousin, Miho called out. Chaos erupted. Taemin broke free, going straight for Kong with murder in his eyes. Catherine watched in horror as Taemin beat him until Miho pulled him off. When it was over, Taemin came to Catherine, his hands shaking as he cupped her face, checking for injuries. Did he hurt you? Did any of them touch you? His voice was rough with fear. Catherine shook her head, tears streaming. I'm okay. I'm okay. Taemin pulled her into his arms, holding her so tight she could barely breathe. I almost lost you, he whispered. I almost. Taemin took Catherine back to his penthouse, neither of them speaking during the drive. His hand held hers so tight it almost hurt, like he was terrified she'd disappear if he let go. Once inside, he locked the door and finally exhaled, his entire body shaking with adrenaline and fear. Catherine, he said, his voice breaking. I just need. I'm here, Catherine whispered. I'm right here. Taemin crossed to her in 3 strides, his hands cupping her face, his eyes searching hers desperately. When I saw that man grab you, when I thought I might lose you, his voice cracked. I've never been that scared in my life, and I realized something. I'm not just falling for you, Catherine. I'm already in love with you. Completely. Terrifyingly. In love with you. Catherine's breath caught. Taemin, I know it's too soon. I know it's crazy. I know I'm probably scaring you. But I can't pretend anymore. I can't be near you without wanting you completely. All of you. Your body, your heart, your soul, everything. I want everything. His forehead pressed against hers. Tell me you feel it too. Tell me I'm not alone in this madness. You're not alone, Catherine whispered. I feel it too. This terrifying, overwhelming, impossible thing. I'm in love with you too, Taemin. And it scares me because I don't know how to do this. I've never... She stopped, her cheeks burning. I've never been with anyone. I don't know how to... Taemin's eyes darkened with understanding. You're a virgin. It wasn't a question. Catherine nodded, embarrassed. I'm 22 and I've never even... It's pathetic, I know. It's not pathetic, Taemin interrupted, his voice rough. It's perfect. You're perfect. His thumb traced her lower lip. Catherine, I've been with other women. Many women. Experienced women who knew every trick, every move. But it never meant anything. I never felt anything. It was just physical release. Emotionless. Empty. But with you, he continued, his voice dropping lower. Everything is different. When I look at you, I feel everything. When I touch you, my entire body comes alive. You make me feel things I've never felt before. And the thought of being your first... He stopped, his breathing ragged. The thought of being the first man to touch you, to make you feel pleasure, to show you what your body is capable of. It's driving me insane. Catherine's heart raced so fast she thought it might explode. I want you to be my first, she whispered. I trust you, Taemin. I want you. Something primal flashed in Taemin's eyes. If we do this, there's no going back. You'll be mine completely, and I'll be yours, forever. Do you understand? This isn't casual for me. It can never be casual with you. I understand, Catherine said softly. I want forever with you. Taemin's control visibly snapped. He kissed her with desperate intensity, his hands sliding into her hair. Catherine kissed him back, her inexperienced movements guided by instinct and desire. Taemin pulled back slightly. Tell me if I'm going too fast. Tell me if you're scared. Tell me anything and I'll stop. Don't stop, Catherine whispered. Please don't stop. Taemin lifted her into his arms, carrying her to his bedroom. He laid her on the silk sheets with a gentleness that contradicted the hunger in his eyes. You're so beautiful, he murmured, his hands trembling as he slowly began removing her clothes. So perfect. So mine. Catherine's hands fumbled with his shirt buttons, her inexperience obvious. Taemin covered her hands with his. Let me, he said softly. He removed his shirt, then his pants, until there was nothing between them but anticipation and trust. Catherine's eyes widened at the sight of him, and Taemin saw her nervousness. We'll go slow, he promised. I'll make sure you feel nothing but pleasure. What happened next was tender and intense and overwhelming. Taemin kept his promise, going slowly, constantly checking that Catherine was okay. And Catherine discovered something she'd never expected. Despite her inexperience, despite her nervousness, her body responded to Taemin in ways that shocked them both. Every touch sent electricity through her. Every kiss made her gasp. Every movement brought pleasure she'd never imagined. Taemin watched her face the entire time, mesmerized by her reactions. He'd been with experienced women who performed pleasure. But Catherine's responses were real, genuine, unscripted. The way she gasped his name, the way her body arched, the way her nails dug into his shoulders. It was all natural, instinctive, and more arousing than anything he'd ever experienced. Catherine, he groaned, struggling to maintain control. You're incredible. The way you respond to me. He couldn't finish the sentence. Catherine pulled him closer, whispering his name like a prayer. And for the first time in his life, Taemin felt complete. Not empty, not cold. Completely, overwhelmingly whole. Hours later, they lay tangled in silk sheets, both breathless and trembling. The city lights filtered through the windows, casting soft shadows across their bodies. Catherine's curls were wild across the pillow, her skin flushed, her chest rising and falling rapidly. She looked like a goddess, beautiful, powerful, utterly devastating. Taemin propped himself on one elbow, staring at her with something between wonder and disbelief. His hand traced lazy patterns on her bare shoulder, his touch reverent. Catherine couldn't meet his eyes, embarrassment and vulnerability, making her feel exposed in ways that had nothing to do with nakedness. "Look at me," Taemin said softly. Catherine slowly raised her eyes to his. What she saw in his face took her breath away. Vulnerability, wonder, something that looked like awe. "You okay?" he asked gently. Catherine nodded, unable to find words. Everything felt too big, too overwhelming, too intense. Taemin's hand cupped her face, his thumb brushing across her swollen lips. "I need to tell you something," he said, his voice rough with emotion. Catherine's heart stuttered. "What?" He was quiet for a moment, like he was struggling to find words. "I've been with many women, Catherine. Experienced women. Women who knew exactly what they were doing. Beautiful women who spent their lives perfecting the art of seduction." Catherine's stomach twisted. Why was he telling her this now? Taemin must have seen the hurt flash across her face because he quickly continued. "But none of them, not a single one, made me feel anything. Sex was just mechanical, physical, a biological function. I went through the motions because it was expected, because it was stress relief. But I never enjoyed it. Never felt pleasure beyond the basic physical response. I certainly never felt connected." He paused, his eyes searching hers intensely. "But with you," his voice broke slightly. "Catherine, you're a virgin. You had no experience, no techniques, no practiced moves. And yet," he stopped, struggling with emotion. Catherine's heart raced. "And yet what?" she whispered. Taemin's forehead pressed against hers, his breathing ragged. "And yet you just gave me the most intense, overwhelming, pleasurable experience of my entire life. The way you responded to every touch. So honest, so real, so genuine. The way you gasped my name like you couldn't help it. The way your body moved with mine like we were created specifically for each other. You made me feel things I've never felt before. Pleasure I didn't know existed." Catherine's breath hitched. "Really?" Taemin's laugh was shaky. "Really? I've spent years thinking I was broken, incapable of feeling pleasure with another person. That sex would always be empty for me. And then you, this innocent, inexperienced girl, you destroyed every assumption I had. You made me feel alive for the first time in my life." His hand cupped her face with a tenderness that made her want to cry. "I had no idea it could be like this. That intimacy could actually mean something. That pleasure could come from connection, not just technique. I had no idea that being with someone I love would make everything different. Better. Perfect." His eyes shone with unshed tears. "You changed me, Catherine. In every possible way." Catherine felt tears sliding down her cheeks. "You changed me too," she whispered. "I was so scared before. I thought my first time would be awkward and painful and disappointing. But with you—" She stopped, her voice catching. "With you I felt safe, cherished, like you were worshipping me, like I was the most precious thing in your world." "You are," Taemin said fiercely. "You're the most precious thing in my world. The only thing that matters." He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her lips, soft, reverent kisses that felt like promises. "I love you, Catherine. More than I knew it was possible to love someone. You make me want to be better. You make me believe I could be more than the monster I became." Catherine's hands cupped his face, bringing him down for a deep, emotional kiss. When they broke apart, both were crying. "I love you too," she whispered against his lips. "So much it scares me. So much I can't imagine my life without you anymore." Taemin held her tighter, like he'd never let her go. As they lay there, wrapped in each other's arms, Taemin pressed his lips to her ear. His breath was warm against her skin, sending shivers through her body. When he spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. Rough, emotional, filled with wonder and love and complete vulnerability. I never knew you were like this. Catherine smiled, understanding exactly what he meant. She'd never known she could be like this either. Fearless, passionate, powerful, loved. She'd come to Seoul as a scared girl with broken dreams. And somehow, she'd found a broken man who made her feel whole. Together, they discovered that love could heal even the deepest wounds. As sleep claimed them, tangled together in the aftermath of everything that had changed, both knew their story was just beginning. There would be challenges ahead, danger, complications, but they'd face them together, because they'd found something rare and precious and worth fighting for. They'd found each other. What do you think about this story? Did Catherine make the right choice falling for Taemin? Could you feel their connection? Tell me your thoughts in the comments section below. Like, share, and subscribe if you want part 2 of Catherine and Taemin's story, or if you want more dark romance stories like this. What should happen next in their story? Let me know.